One of the most frequent mistakes that people make when they do conversational prospecting on LinkedIn is that they go straight for the jugular. They go straight into their product area, and ask people if they have ever thought of doing something like this. Very good example is, let's say you are a ghostwriter, you help people ghostwrite books, and you start a conversation with somebody who could be in your target market, and you ask them, have you ever thought about writing a book? Right? If this is your opening line, then I predict that you're not going to be very successful with it. I mean, if you do it at scale and if you just ask enough people, of course, you will get a couple of responses back. However, in conversational prospecting, which is like the early phase of prospecting, you really want to understand your target market, even get people on a call who might not be perfect target clients, but you just want to pick their brains. You want to do market research. At that phase, when you do conversational prospecting, you don't want to go straight into your product area. You simply want to start a conversation about something that is their concern. You want to start a conversation about something that is in your domain of expertise, but that is wider. And this is why I've created this concept of the wider field of concern. This is simply a technique that helps you frame your conversations, your conversational prospecting, so that you will get far more responses than if you go straight into that one topic that you are selling. So let's stay with that example of you're a ghostwriter who creates books for experts, for consultants. You could start a conversation by asking, hey, you are such an expert in your field. Have you ever thought about writing a book? Right? And that's when the conversation then also will end, because if the person has thought about it but has rejected the idea, then they will tell you, yeah, currently not interested. And there's not really a good way how you can talk them into it, right? Oh, but you should write a book because. It's very unlikely that you can change somebody's mind when they're so low investment. You can maybe do that when you're on a call with them, but in this early stage, when you're just DMing with them, it's very unlikely to happen. And so what you need to do, what I strongly recommend that you do, that you look at it from a wider lens. You open the aperture, so to speak, and you consider the wider field of concern. So let's say your target audience is consultants. Their wider field of concern is generally client acquisition, right? And asking them, hey, I'm just really curious, what has worked for you in terms of client acquisition? I'm speaking to many people and I'm just kind of collecting info, and I would love to know what works for you in terms of getting clients other than referrals. That's a given. And that is a much better question, because now you are sort of in a space that they definitely are interested in. And once you get to know them a little bit, then asking them, have you thought about writing a book? That is, you've already built a little bit of trust with them. You've established a little bit of common ground. There's a bit of back and forth. And then they are much more willing to be open with you and give you an answer for this particular question. So that is why the wider field of concern is so powerful, because you are not just asking them, hey, this one single thing that I'm selling, would you want it? Because it's such a transparent move. And it's also a little bit disingenuous, right? It's more like you are pretending like you're trying to build some relationship. Well, in reality, you just want to sell them something. There's nothing wrong with just selling them something, but then might as well just state the offer right out. Hey, we help you write a book in 30 days or your money back or something like that. And so I find that a better approach than just starting a conversation. Hey, have you thought about writing a book? Also, as you are in a conversation, very often you get into a point where you don't know what's next, right? You've exhausted one specific topic. You don't yet feel that it's the right point of asking them for a call, but you don't know what to ask about is the next step. The wider field of concern can help you in that, because when you know that you're talking about their whole area of client acquisition, for example, then you will know, hey, I see many people who are running ads to a webinar page. Have you ever thought about doing that? Not that I'm selling, right? And just asking these types of questions can keep the conversation going. So that is what the wider field of concern is also useful for. Another example in a bit of a different area, executive coaching. Let's say you're an executive coach and your specialty is hypnosis. You would not want to ask people, hey, have you thought about using hypnosis? Well, obviously, yeah, that's what you're selling. So that's, of course, what you're going to be asking me. But if you want to build a relationship that gets you more people on a call, that gets more people to respond, instead, what will hypnosis help them with? What is the wider field of concern? Again, let's open the aperture. What is that helping them with? It is probably getting ahead in their career. When you're an executive coach, you want to make people more effective managers, more effective leaders, advance in their career, get promoted into higher positions. So that is the wider field of concern. You want to ask them, how is it going when it comes to advancing in your career? What has prompted the last promotion, for example? And that is a much better way to keep the conversation going. Also, not only for DMs, it's also once you connect with them on, let's say on a Zoom call, the wider field of concern idea, that you really look at that area that you help people with, and that your specific domain helps them in one specific area. Remember the ghostwriter that helps people write a book, right? The wider field of concern is generally the topic of client acquisition, but you as a ghostwriter can help them in one specific area, and that is long-form content that will build their expertise, build their credibility in the market. Effectively, a type of content marketing. You are not covering ads. You're not covering PR, for example. You are covering that part. But if you show interest in that wider area, you have a much better chance of building a stronger relationship with them, because they also see that you are genuinely interested in them as a person, albeit in that particular area. And then it allows you also to withdraw. When, for example, they say they're doing really well with paid ads, but they're very busy with them, you shouldn't be also trying to sell them the book. Instead, you should just congratulate them and say, awesome that this works for you. Listen, it seems like this is really working well for you. Maybe writing a book would be a topic for later, but right now you seem to be on a roll, so I'm just not going to try to sell you anything. That really builds a lot of trust. And you can only get there if you purely focus on the wider field of concern and not just your narrow area. And again, if we look at the example of the executive coach with hypnosis, if you show the interest in the wider field of concern, how are they advancing in their career and not just focus on hypnosis? Well, then you will get into much more higher quality conversations. They will tell you, listen, this has worked for me in the past. These are my current challenges. And you might arrive at a place where you think, well, actually, hypnosis might not be the best thing for you. And because of that, the key prerequisite for making the wider field of concern work is you need to genuinely care about them. And it's really difficult for some people who are just purely focused on selling their product. It's a little bit hard to grasp, but the more you genuinely care about their success, the more successful these type of conversations will be, and the more people you will get on a call. You need to want them to be successful, even without your support. That's why I mentioned the example of the consultant who is doing really well with paid ads. Then you might not want to sell them writing a book, because that would just add to their workload, and they're currently doing really well with ads alone. So next time you're struggling with keeping the conversation going or starting a conversation with somebody over DMs in the first place, think about the wider field of concern. Widen the aperture. Talk about more topics in this field of concern in your domain. Be that client acquisition, be that advancing in their career, whatever it is, widen the aperture and you'll be more successful in getting calls and having people talking to you more. I hope this was interesting. My name is 𝐖𝐢𝐝𝐞𝐫 𝐅𝐢𝐞𝐥𝐝. We help consultants and B2B agency owners to build client acquisition systems and stop relying on referrals. If that is interesting to you, you might want to click the link in the description of the video, or if you're only listening to this in the podcast, it's one of the links that is in the show notes. I'd love to talk to you. You can book a call there, but no problem if not. This is all about giving you value with my experience, with my knowledge. And so if you don't want to book a call, that's fine too. Have a great day. I'll talk to you in the next video.